The vastness of space stretched out before Commander Alan Price as he stood on the bridge of the Dauntless. 12 ships. That was all Earth had sent into the unknown reaches of the galaxy. 12 ships against whatever might be waiting for them out here. "Sir, we're picking up unusual energy readings," Lieutenant Olivia Martinez said, her fingers moving quickly across her console. "Multiple vessels approaching from Sector 7. Price nodded calmly. "Battle stations. Keep weapons powered down but shields at full strength." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. This was the moment they had trained for. "First contact." "On screen," Price ordered. The view screen flickered to life, showing a formation of sleek, silver vessels. Their design was unlike anything human engineers had created, all curves and spirals, as if they had been grown rather than built. "They're hailing us, sir," Martins reported. "Open a channel." The screen changed to show a being with pale blue skin and large, multifaceted eyes. 4 arms moved in constant fluid motion as it spoke, its words translated by the ship's computers. "Unidentified vessels, you have entered territory claimed by the Galactic Confederation. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Price stepped forward. "I am Commander Alan Price of Earth's Expeditionary Force. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship with other spacefaring civilizations." The alien's eyes shifted, reflecting light in a rainbow of colors. "Earth? We have no record of this world. How many systems do you control?" "Just one. We are a young spacefaring species." This answer caused visible surprise. The alien spoke to someone off-screen in its native tongue, forgetting or not caring that the translation systems were still active. Only one system. And they sent a mere 12 ships to make contact. Amusing. The Council will find this tiny fleet quite entertaining. Price kept his expression neutral despite the dismissal in the alien's tone. "I am Subdirector Vrall of the Confederation's Contact Division." The alien continued in the human language. "Your vessels will follow us to the nearest Confederation outpost for proper assessment." Martinez muted the transmission. "Sir, I'm intercepting their internal communications." They're laughing at us. They're calling us primitives. They're referring to our ships as toy boats." Price's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice steady. "Let them underestimate us, Lieutenant. It won't be the first time humanity has been judged too quickly." The journey to the Confederation outpost took 3 days. The human ships followed the much larger alien vessels, their engines straining to match the pace set by their guides. At the outpost, a massive space station that dwarfed anything humans had built, Price and his senior officers were escorted to a grand chamber filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. The human delegation announced a tall, reptilian being, representatives of a single-system civilization seeking recognition. Murmurs and barely concealed laughter rippled through the assembly. A being that appeared to be composed of shifting crystalline structures addressed them. "Commander Price, the Confederation welcomes new species according to their developmental stage. After reviewing your technology, we have determined that humanity qualifies for Class 3 status, protected observation with limited technology exchange." "With respect," Price replied, "we came seeking equal diplomatic relations." The crystalline being's facets glinted. "Equality must be earned, Commander. Your tiny fleet of primitive vessels suggests you have much development ahead before such consideration would be appropriate." Price exchanged glances with his officers. Chief Engineer Sam Baker looked insulted. Science Officer Diane Foster was taking notes furiously. Lieutenant Martinez was barely containing her anger. "Perhaps a demonstration of our capabilities would be more persuasive than words," Price suggested. "Oh." The crystalline being seemed amused. "The Confederation does offer a standard assessment challenge for species seeking to improve their classification." "We accept," Price said without hesitation. The chamber erupted in surprised chatter. "Very well," the crystalline being said after order was restored. "Your 12 vessels against 36 of our patrol craft. A simple simulation, Of course. Price smiled for the first time since arriving. When do we begin? Tomorrow, came the reply. Rest well, humans. Your tiny fleet will need all its strength. The humans gathered in the secure briefing room aboard the Dauntless. Commander Price studied the faces of his officers, noting their determination despite the odds they faced. They think this is going to be simple, Price said, activating the holographic display. 36 of their ships against our 12. A lesson in humility, they called it. Chief Engineer Sam Baker snorted. Did you see their engine configurations? They're using standard plasma containment fields. No quantum stabilization at all. Their weapon systems are impressive, though, Tactical Officer Ben Garcia noted. Those energy cannons could tear through our standard shields. Science Officer Diane Foster nodded. But they're predictable. Their targeting systems rely on conventional physics. They don't account for dimensional variance. Lieutenant Martinez had been unusually quiet. Now she looked up from her datapad. Sir, I've been monitoring their communications. The Confederation ships think this is just a formality. Their captains are placing bets on how quickly they'll defeat us. Price smiled. Perfect. What else have you learned? They plan to surround us immediately, forcing us into a defensive position. They don't expect us to split our forces or to make aggressive moves. And their shields? Price asked, turning to Baker. Frequency locked. They don't adapt, Baker replied with a grin. They've never needed to, apparently. Most species they encounter use similar technology to theirs. Price walked around the table, studying the simulation of the battle zone. They've chosen an asteroid field for the exercise. Limited maneuverability, they think. Unless you can phase through solid matter, Foster said quietly. The room fell silent. The dimensional phase drive was Earth's most closely guarded technology, developed after decades of research. Are we authorized to reveal that capability? Garcia asked. Price considered this. Not at full capacity. Let's show them just enough to win, not enough to reveal all our cards. Baker leaned forward. Commander, I've analyzed their sensor technology. If we modify our energy signatures to appear even more primitive than they already think we are, they'll drop their guard completely. Do it, Price ordered. Lieutenant Martinez, make sure our ships can still communicate securely using the quantum channels. Already configured, sir, she replied. They won't detect our coordination. Good, Price nodded. Now here's the plan. The next morning, the human fleet faced the Confederation ships in the asteroid field. From the observation deck of the space station, alien dignitaries gathered to watch what they expected to be a brief educational demonstration. The simulation will begin in 30 seconds, announced the crystalline being. Weapons are set to register hits, but cause no actual damage. This is merely an exercise. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Price sat calmly in his command chair. All ships, execute Protocol Echo. Immediately, the human vessel's energy signatures dimmed, making them appear to be operating at minimum power. They're laughing again, sir, Martins reported, listening to the Confederation communications. Let them, Price replied. Baker, status on the modifications. Complete across all ships. They'll never see it coming. 10 seconds to engagement, Garcia announced. The Confederation fleet began moving forward in a precise formation, clearly intending to encircle the human vessels. Now, Price ordered. The 12 human ships suddenly scattered in different directions, moving with unexpected speed through the asteroid field. What are they doing? Asked the crystalline being in the observation deck. On the battlefield, the Confederation captains scrambled to adjust their formations. They hadn't expected such rapid, coordinated movement from the primitive human vessels. Phase drives at minimum, Price commanded. Just enough to pass through the smaller asteroids. Make it look like expert navigation, not technology. Human observers gasped as Earth ships seemingly passed between impossibly narrow gaps in the asteroid field, emerging behind the Confederation vessels. First volley, Price ordered. Targeted strikes only. The human ships fired, their weapons striking with pinpoint accuracy against the engines of the alien vessels. Half their rear guard is disabled, Garcia reported. On the observation deck, the mood shifted from amusement to concern as the tiny human fleet executed maneuvers no one had anticipated. "This isn't possible," murmured the crystalline being, watching as the supposedly primitive fleet systematically outmaneuvered ships using technology centuries more advanced. The challenge had only just begun. The Confederation fleet regrouped, forming a defensive sphere as they tried to counter the unexpected human tactics. Their commanders abandoned their original strategy, now taking the human ships seriously. "They're adapting," Garcia reported on the Dauntless Bridge, "changing their shield frequencies and weapon configurations." Price nodded. "As expected. Foster, time to show them something new." Science Officer Diane Foster activated her console, initiating Protocol Hydra. Across all 12 human ships, secondary systems came online. The energy signatures of the vessels began shifting unpredictably, confusing the Confederation targeting systems. "What is happening?" demanded the crystalline being in the observation chamber. "Their ships are changing." A reptilian official checked readings on a personal device. "Impossible. Their power output just doubled, but their reactors should be too small to generate such energy." On the battlefield, the human ships suddenly accelerated, moving in patterns that seemed random but were actually a carefully choreographed dance. Each vessel protected the other's vulnerable points while exposing the weaknesses in the Confederation formation. "Pattern Delta," Price commanded. "Execute on my mark." The human captains acknowledged. They had practiced this maneuver countless times, but never against actual alien technology. Mark. In perfect synchronization, the 12 ships split into 4 groups of 3. Each group spiraled toward a different section of the Confederation sphere, firing precisely calibrated pulses that disrupted shield harmonics without depleting their own weapon reserves. 8 more enemy ships disabled, Garcia announced. "That's 22 down, 14 remaining." In the observation chamber, the mood had shifted completely. The earlier amusement was replaced by stunned silence as the dignitaries watched their superior force being systematically dismantled. Subdirector Vral, the crystalline being called to the blue-skinned alien who had first contacted the humans. "Explain how you so severely misjudged their capabilities." Vral's 4 arms moved nervously. "Their ships showed minimal energy outputs during our scans. We detected no advanced weapon systems. They must have been masking their true technology." Back on the Dauntless, Baker reported from engineering. "Commander, they're trying to scan our reactor configuration. They still don't understand how we're generating this much power." Price smiled. "Foster's miniaturized reactor design is working perfectly. Let's show them what else we can do." He opened a channel to all human ships. "Phase 2, everyone. Let's wrap this up." The remaining human vessels suddenly changed tactics again. Instead of avoiding the larger Confederation ships, they moved directly toward them, seemingly on collision courses. "They'd gone mad," a Confederation captain transmitted. "They're going to crash into our—" The transmission cut off as the human ships activated their dimensional phase drives at minimum power, just enough to pass partially through the Confederation vessel's shields. Once inside the shield perimeter, they fired specialized disruptors that temporarily disabled the alien ship's control systems. "Confederation Vessel 8 is spinning out of control," Martins reported. 9 and 10 have lost power. 11 is." She paused, listening to intercepted communications, surrendering. In less than 15 minutes, all 36 Confederation ships have been neutralized in the simulation. Not a single human vessel had been disabled. The observation chamber was completely silent. The alien dignitaries stared at the tactical displays in disbelief. "The exercise is concluded," Price transmitted to the station. "We await your reassessment of Earth's status." The crystalline being turned to the other Confederation leaders. "This changes everything. They're not primitives at all." "Worse," said a shadowy figure at the back of the chamber who had remained silent until now. They've been holding back. What we've seen is merely a fraction of their true capabilities. How can you know this? Asked the crystalline being. Because, replied the shadowy figure, they've demonstrated 5 distinct technologies we've never seen before, yet they're using them as if they're routine. This tiny fleet isn't a diplomatic mission. It's a warning. The Confederation Council chamber buzzed with urgent conversations. Representatives from 117 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the massive amphitheater. The demonstration by the human fleet had triggered an emergency session. Order. We will have order. The High Counselor, a tall being with translucent skin that revealed pulsing organs, struck a resonating crystal with a ceremonial staff. The chamber gradually quieted. We have witnessed something unprecedented, the High Counselor continued, a previously unknown species with technology that challenges our understanding. The assessment committee has filed its report. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing detailed analyses of the human ship's capabilities. As you can see, what initially appeared to be primitive vessels concealed advanced systems that our sensors could not properly classify. The implications are concerning. The doors to the chamber opened, and Commander Price entered with Lieutenant Martinez and a new human they hadn't seen before, a tall man with silver hair and a formal uniform adorned with diplomatic insignia. The Council recognizes Commander Price and welcomes Earth's diplomatic representative, the High Counselor announced. The silver-haired man stepped forward. I am Ambassador Eric Johnson of Earth. I bring greetings from our world and a formal request for diplomatic recognition. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The crystalline being who had overseen the challenge rose to speak. Ambassador, your people's deception regarding their technological capabilities raises questions about your intentions. Why did you hide your true strength? Johnson smiled politely. We did not deceive anyone. You simply made assumptions based on insufficient data, a common error when encountering something new. Nevertheless, continued the crystalline being, such technology in the hands of an unknown species represents a potential threat to Confederation security. From the shadows of the chamber, a delegate with scaled skin and yellow eyes stood. The Zorn Collective demands these humans be contained until we can verify they pose no danger. Their ships should be impounded and their technology analyzed. Ambassador Johnson's expression remained calm, but Price noticed his posture stiffen. Earth respects the Confederation's concerns, Johnson replied. But we will not surrender our sovereignty or our ships. We came seeking friendship, not subjugation. The chamber erupted into competing voices. Some delegates supported the Zorn's position, while others argued for caution. A small avian being fluttered down to the speaking platform. The Leary Alliance reminds the Council that we too were once greeted with suspicion. The humans deserve the same chance we were given to prove our peaceful intentions. The debate continued for hours. Price and Martinez exchanged worried glances as the political maneuvering intensified. Johnson listened carefully, occasionally making notes. During a recess, a delegate from a species with 4 arms and iridescent skin approached the humans privately. Ambassador Johnson, I am Delegate Rax of the Pelora Confederation, the alien whispered. We must speak in confidence. Johnson nodded, and they moved to a secluded alcove. What you witnessed today is unusual, Rax said. The Confederation has grown stagnant. Many of our species haven't developed new technology in centuries. Your arrival has disturbed certain powerful factions. The Zorn, Price asked. Yes, they maintain their position through military dominance. Your demonstration threatens that power structure. Rax glanced around nervously. The Zorn will not wait for diplomatic solutions. They are already mobilizing their fleet. Johnson's eyes narrowed. How much time do we have? Days, perhaps less. Your 12 ships showed impressive capabilities, but the Zorn can deploy hundreds. Martinez spoke up. We should warn Earth immediately. That would be wise, Rax agreed. But know this, not all in the Confederation stand with the Zorn. Some of us see your arrival as an opportunity for change. Why tell us this? Johnson asked. Because the Confederation has been declining for centuries. Innovation has been replaced by bureaucracy. Your people reminded us of what we once were. Rax pressed a small device into Johnson's hand. This contains secure communication protocols. There are allies who will help when the time comes. As they returned to the chamber, Price spoke quietly to Johnson. We need to prepare. If the Zorn are coming, 12 ships won't be enough. Johnson nodded grimly. Earth can send reinforcements, but they'll take time to arrive. Until then, we need to find a defensive position and make every ship count. Like we always have, Price replied. The nebula stretched before them like a vast, multicolored ocean. Commander Price had chosen their position carefully. The ionized gases and dust clouds would interfere with sensors and provide natural cover for the small human fleet. All ships in position. Garcia reported from Tactical. Defense grid is active. Price nodded. How long until our reinforcements arrive? 3 days, sir, Martins replied. If they push their engines to maximum. And how many ships are they sending? The bridge fell silent. Martins looked down at her console before answering. 5, sir. That's all Earth could spare on short notice. 5 more ships. 17 against what could be hundreds. Price kept his expression neutral despite the odds. Baker, Foster, what's our status on the modifications? The chief engineer and science officer had barely slept in the 48 hours since they'd retreated to the nebula. They'd been working continuously to enhance the fleet's capabilities. We've reconfigured the phase drives to work with the nebula's natural properties, Baker explained. When activated, our ships will be virtually invisible to their sensors. Foster pulled up a diagram on the main screen. And I've adapted our shield harmonics to absorb energy from the nebula itself. It won't last long, but it should give us a significant boost during initial engagement. What about weapons? Price asked. Garcia stepped forward. We've distributed the quantum torpedoes across all ships. Limited supply, but they'll punch through Zorn shields if we target precisely. Price studied the tactical display. The nebula provided cover, but also limited their own visibility and maneuverability. It was a calculated risk. Martinez, what's the status of your early warning system? The lieutenant had deployed a network of modified communication buoys throughout the outer reaches of the nebula. Operational, sir. We'll have approximately 15 minutes warning when the Zorn fleet arrives. Price walked slowly around the bridge, considering their options. Run the simulations again. I want to know our best possible outcome. Foster activated the tactical computer. The holographic display showed the human fleet engaged with a much larger Zorn force. Even with their technological advantages, the simulation showed heavy losses for the humans. Even with optimal performance, we lose 9 ships, Garcia said quietly. Price's jaw tightened. Unacceptable. We need something else. The communication console chimed. Martinez's eyes widened as she checked the incoming signal. Sir, it's encrypted using the protocols from Delegate Rax. Put it through. The main screen activated, showing a different alien species than Rax. This one with a crystalline exoskeleton that refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. Commander Price, I am Captain Zivi of the Malorian Defense Force. We have received intelligence about the Zorn fleet's plans. They are moving faster than anticipated. They will reach your position within 18 hours. Price stepped forward. Thank you for the warning, Captain Zivi, but we're already aware of the threat. I am not merely warning you, Commander. The Malorians stand with Earth. We cannot openly defy the Zorn, but we have resources that may help even your odds. What kind of resources? Price asked cautiously. Information. The Zorn fleet's command codes, shield frequencies, and tactical protocols. They have not been changed in 50 years because no one has challenged them in so long. Foster and Baker exchanged excited glances. With that information, they could potentially overcome their numerical disadvantage. Why would you help us? Price asked. Because the Confederation needs change. Many species have suffered under Zorn influence. Your arrival has created an opportunity we cannot ignore. After the transmission ended, Price gathered his senior officers. This changes our approach. Baker, Foster, analyze this data and find exploitable weaknesses. Garcia, reconfigure our tactical plans. Martinez, coordinate with the other ships. Sir, Martinez said hesitantly, do you trust this information? It could be a trap. Price considered her question. We'll verify what we can, but ultimately we have little choice. Sometimes you have to take a chance when the stakes are high enough. And the stakes don't get much higher than this, Baker added. No, they don't, Price agreed, looking at the tactical display where 17 small dots represented all that stood between Earth and a potentially hostile galaxy. 17 ships against an empire. Let's make them count. The nebula glowed with swirling blues and purples as the Zorn fleet arrived. 223 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Their black hulls absorbed the colorful light, making them look like holes in the fabric of space. Zorn fleet detected, Martinez announced, her voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. All ships report ready. Price stood at the center of the dauntless bridge, watching the enemy vessels spread out in a hunting pattern. They're being cautious. Good. They're scanning the nebula, Garcia reported from Tactical. Standard search pattern. They haven't detected us yet. Price opened a secure channel to all human ships. Remember the plan. Hold position until they cross the marker points. Let them come to us. The minutes stretched as the Zorn fleet methodically searched the nebula. Their ships moved in groups of 5, powerful scanners cutting through the colorful gases. First group approaching Marker 1, Martinez said. Price nodded. Activate phase camouflage. Throughout the nebula, the 17 human ships shimmered slightly as their phase drives engaged at minimal power. The technology allowed them to partially exist in another dimension, making them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. A Zorn patrol passed within 100 meters of the Dauntless without detecting it. They're spreading their forces too thin, Garcia observed. Just as we hoped. Price waited until nearly half the Zorn fleet had entered the nebula's densest regions. All ships, prepare to execute Operation Thunderbolt on my mark. Foster monitored the energy readings from her science station. Nebula energy has been absorbed into our shield systems. We're at 140% capacity. 3, 2, 1. Mark, Price said calmly. Throughout the nebula, the human ships simultaneously switched off their phase camouflage and activated their weapons. The nebula itself seemed to come alive as 17 points of intense light erupted. The first Zorn ships had no time to raise shields. Quantum torpedoes struck with surgical precision, disabling engines and weapons rather than destroying the vessels outright. First wave successful, Garcia reported. 32 enemy ships disabled. On the Zorn command vessel, Admiral Kresh roared in anger. How did they ambush us? Find those human ships and destroy them. But the humans had already changed position, using their phase drives to relocate before the Zorn could target them. Second attack pattern, Price ordered. Focus on their command ships. The human vessels appeared directly behind the largest Zorn warships. Their weapons had been calibrated to the exact frequencies of the Zorn shields, passing through them as if they weren't there. They're trying to adapt, Baker reported from engineering. Changing shield frequencies. Too late, Foster replied. I've already uploaded the predictive algorithm to all ships. We're changing our weapons faster than they can adjust. The nebula became a chaotic battlefield. The massive Zorn fleet found itself unable to use its numerical advantage as the human ships appeared and disappeared, striking with perfect coordination thanks to Martinez's communication network. Sir, they're targeting the nebula itself, Garcia warned. Mass weapons discharge. The Zorn, growing desperate, began firing indiscriminately into the nebula, hoping to hit the elusive human vessels by chance. Execute defensive pattern Echo, Price commanded. The human ships activated their full phase drives for 3 seconds, just long enough for the energy weapons to pass harmlessly through them. Their fleet is in disarray, Martins reported, monitoring the Zorn communications. They've lost coordination between ship groups. Now, Price said, target their flagship. The Dauntless and 2 other human ships materialized directly above the massive Zorn command vessel. Their combined weapons fire penetrated the flagship's shields and disabled its primary systems. Admiral Kresh is hailing us, Martins said, surprised. Price straightened his uniform. On screen, the Zorn Admiral's scaled face appeared, yellow eyes burning with a mixture of rage and reluctant respect. How is this possible? You have only 17 ships. 17 human ships, Price corrected. Do you wish to continue this battle, Admiral? Or shall we discuss terms? The Admiral's expression darkened. This isn't over, human. You're right, Price agreed. It's just beginning. Your choice whether it continues as a war or as a conversation. After a tense moment, the Admiral gave a curt nod. Stand down weapons. We will talk. Throughout the nebula, the remaining Zorn vessels powered down their weapons. The impossible had happened. 17 ships had defeated a fleet of hundreds. The Great Confederation Council chamber had been redesigned for the occasion. A new section had been added, a simple yet elegant space for Earth's representatives. Ambassador Johnson stood at the center of the chamber, addressing the assembled delegates from across the galaxy. 3 weeks ago, we came to you as strangers. Today, we stand before you as partners, Johnson said, his voice carrying clearly through the vast space. The treaty we signed today marks not the surrender of any party, but the beginning of a new era of cooperation. The High Counselor nodded in agreement. The Confederation acknowledges Earth as a sovereign power and welcomes humanity as a full member with all rights and privileges. Even the Zorn delegation, diminished in status after their failed military action, could only watch in silence. Their admiral had been replaced by a more moderate leader who recognized the changing reality. Commander Price stood at attention behind Johnson, watching history unfold. The other human captains lined up beside him, representatives of the tiny fleet that had changed the balance of power across hundreds of star systems. Our first act as members, Johnson continued, will be to establish a joint technology exchange. Earth offers innovations in dimensional physics, miniaturized reactor design, and adaptive AI systems. In return, we seek improvements to our faster-than-light travel capabilities. This announcement caused excited murmurs throughout the chamber. Many species had been waiting centuries for fresh technological developments. Furthermore, Johnson added, Earth proposes the formation of a new Confederation Defense Force, combining ships and crews from all member worlds. Commander Price has agreed to serve as its first training director. Price hadn't expected this announcement, but he maintained his professional composure. Martinez, standing beside him, gave him a subtle nod of approval. After the ceremony, delegates from dozens of worlds approached the humans, eager to establish relations with Earth. The previously marginalized species were especially enthusiastic. Your arrival has broken centuries of stagnation. Delegate Rax told Price at the reception. The Zorn's military dominance kept smaller worlds from having a voice. That's changing now. We didn't come here looking for revolution, Price replied. Sometimes revolution finds you. Captain Zivi of the Malorians joined their conversation. My government has already begun implementing some of your engineering principles. Our first new ship design in 100 years is under construction. Foster and Baker had become celebrities among the Confederation's scientific community. Their innovations were already being studied and adapted by dozens of species. It's strange, Baker told Price later. They have technology that's far beyond ours in some areas, yet they stopped innovating. They just kept building the same designs for generations. Complacency, Price suggested. When you think you're at the top, you stop climbing. A week later, as the diplomatic meetings continued, word arrived from Earth. The council chamber's main display activated, showing a live transmission from Earth space. The image showed hundreds of ships, far more advanced than Price's expedition, in formation around Earth's orbital stations. The home fleet that Earth had kept in reserve was finally being revealed. As a gesture of trust, Johnson announced to the council, "Earth is sharing the full extent of our defensive capabilities. Our home fleet stands ready to join the new Confederation Defense Force." The chamber fell completely silent as the delegates took in the sight of the massive human armada. The tiny fleet was just the beginning. Rax whispered to Price, "You could have conquered half the Confederation with this force." "That was never our intention," Price replied. "Exploration, not conquest." As the council session ended, Price walked with Martinez to the observation deck. They looked out at the stars, no longer unknown territory, but a neighborhood they were now part of. "What do you think happens next?" Martinez asked. Price considered the question. "We learn from them. They learn from us. We explore further together. And if we find something out there that threatens even the Confederation," Price smiled, "then they'll be glad they didn't underestimate the tiny fleet." In the distance, a ship was departing the station, the first joint human-alien vessel, combining technologies from 3 different worlds. Its name, painted in multiple languages across its hull, said simply, "New Beginning."